There's never anything positive or constructive on what we can both do to make lives better for people on both sides. There's never anything positive or constructive on what we can both do to make lives better for people on both sides. We just wanted a Korean word that was fresh, that was new. Most of these people have been living for 50 years without any hope, and we wanted to be fresh water to a thirsty soul. So.
Great. What is the history of your organization in North Korea, like humanitarian aid? What have you done?
Eugene Bell is a missionary who arrived in Korea, on the Korean Peninsula, in 1895, over 100 years ago. And his great-grandson is actually the chairman and founder of the Eugene Bell Foundation. The Eugene Bell has been working in North Korea since 1995, so over 10 years now, focusing primarily on tuberculosis aid. We support about 44 institutions in North Korea, sending medical equipment, medication for tuberculosis, visiting these institutions at least once a year.
Where does the reunification of these families stand right now? Because I understand that some of the more affluent families have been allowed to access their loved ones.
Yes. Some of the more affluent families have been allowed to go, but otherwise there's very little that can be done. For 99% of Korean American families, they would just be happy to find out these people are still alive. To send a letter or even to make a phone call is beyond their wildest dreams right now.
Why is it easier for wealthier families?
The North Korean government actually has, although the United States government doesn't have a channel for divided families, the North Korean government has a channel. They have a foreign ministry for people that they call real Americans. Real Americans get their visa through the foreign ministry. Now there's a separate branch called the Overseas Korean Compatriots Organization. And now Korean Americans, even though they have American citizenship, even if their children and grandchildren have American citizenship, they have to go through this Korean Compatriots Organization, and the treatment of Americans in that one is different from the way Americans are treated.
Why has North Korea been so resistant to allow the reunification?
It doesn't seem like North Korea is resistant. It's that when you have individual American citizens begging for something from another government, it is very difficult for them to get what they want. They would need to have the backing of their government when they're making these negotiations.
So if they had a counterpart in the government, it would be easier?
It would be much easier. And I think many of these families, what you heard today, that's the problem they're facing.
How significant is this project to Koreans living in Los Angeles?
I think Congressman Javier Becerra was the congressman who introduced a resolution in 2001 that was passed in Congress supporting divided families. There are, I think, 600,000 Korean Americans in this LA area. I think at a low estimate they say 10% of those families are from North Korea. That's about 60,000 people who have absolutely nowhere to turn to in the U.S. government.
You also mentioned that even people that you don't even on the surface realize, and you dig deeper.
You dig deeper. A lot of these families are afraid to tell even their children or grandchildren for fear that they might be stigmatized or they might get in trouble because their grandparents are North Koreans. It's a little scary to admit to that here. Also, a lot of these immigrants came here 30, 40 years ago, and South Korea during a military dictatorship did not treat people from North Korea very well. If you were from a divided family in South Korea in the 1970s, it was very difficult for you. And many of these elderly immigrants are here living with that same mentality. But, once South Korea changed, once their government decided this was something that they will officially support, and I think these people are just waiting to be told that they won't get in trouble for this.
Why did so many Koreans leave the North?
I mean, I think it was just during the war. They were, one of the grandmothers had said before. She said many were afraid because they were told the Chinese troops coming in would get them. Nobody knew what was happening, and the lines, the division lines were changed so many times during the war, and so you just had all these people going back and forth. Other people's families had people going to North Korea.
How significant is the timing and the quick response to get them reunified, considering a lot of them are getting older?
Many of them are getting older, and even within the past 5 years, a tremendous percentage of them have died. And I mean, the rate is accelerating every year because people are getting older. This is really our last chance. We might have 2-3 more years. In 10 years, there won't be too many people left at all. This is why we're holding the history project, to record people's testimonies, pass them on to their children here in the U.S. and maybe one day in North Korea.
How optimistic are you that the government will respond?
We've already had several responses from officials within the government who, they want to help, but they don't see what they can do. But they will do what Korean Americans ask them to. They are willing to do this. I guess the factor is if the Korean American community will be able to express what they want.
What percentage of the Korean American community is affected by this?
I mean, it's pretty amazing. I have a list of people that we've collected, and everyone is in someone's church. Everyone is. One thing about the Korean American community is just it's so well connected to each other. Everyone is from your church. Everyone is the lady who cut your dad's hair. I mean, it's very well connected, and it's in everyone's family. It's impossible not to be Korean and not be affected by the division of Korea.
Those are all the questions I have.
Okay.
I don't know if there's anything that we haven't talked about that you'd like to add.